Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something really timely. It's this whole area where remote work bumps up against cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's huge right now.
Definitely. I mean, so many of us shifted to working from home, right? And it feels like, well, we kind of opened the door to a whole wave of new cyber threats, new vulnerabilities we really need to get our heads around.
Exactly. And that's what this deep dive is about, really understanding the human factors involved in remote work.
Just factors like what people actually do, their habits.
Precisely. Employee awareness, motivation, the everyday habits they form, and how all that impacts their cyber hygiene practices. The basic issue, and our sources really point this out, is that, well, home networks and personal devices, they're generally just way more vulnerable to attacks than the secure corporate networks we're used to.
Right. So remote workers become sort of easier target.
Prime targets, yeah. We've basically moved the company's front door into hundreds of different homes, potentially.
Okay. Let's unpack that a bit. The paper we looked at, it took a really direct approach, didn't it? Trying to figure out how remote workers are actually handling cybersecurity day to day. So how did they do that? What was the method?
Well, they ran a pretty solid study. They got data from 442 employees reaching out via LinkedIn.
Okay.
And they used two main tools. One was the standard cyber hygiene inventory scale. That's kind of the benchmark for secure online behavior.
Right. Heard of that one.
And the other was a new one called the REXM inventory. This one was specifically designed for the unique security challenges you face when working remotely.
So tailored. They really wanted to see what's happening on the ground then.
Exactly. A granular view.
So 442 people. What did they find? What's the first big thing that jumped out from the data?
Well, what's really fascinating, the first key finding was this. There's a significant link, a correlation, between the security measures companies put in place and how good their employees' cyber hygiene practices actually are.
So it's not just about the tech the company buys.
No, it's more complex. It really shows this interplay. It's about how the organizational efforts, the policies, the tools actually influence individual behavior, and maybe vice versa too. They kind of rise and fall together.
Huh. So you could say maybe that a company investing loads in security tools, well, that investment might not pay off if it doesn't actually change how people behave day to day.
That seems to be the implication, yeah. It's a feedback loop.
And here's something I found really interesting. They also saw a difference between sectors, right? Public versus private.
They did, yeah. And it was quite notable. The study found that private sector employees consistently showed stronger cyber hygiene.
Stronger. Why do you think that might be?
Well, the study doesn't definitively say why, but it does point towards potential differences. Maybe it's training, maybe resource allocation, maybe even just how seriously the risk is perceived in those different environments.
Makes you wonder. Lessons to be learned either way, I guess.
For sure. And speaking of risks, the study also reinforces how much more vulnerable remote workers are now. I mean, we're all relying so much more on digital tech.
Especially since the pandemic pushed everything remote so fast.
Exactly. It accelerated everything. Plus, a lot of remote employees, they often feel like they don't have enough support or resources from the company for this stuff.
Right. Stuck dealing with their own, maybe not so secure home setup.
Yeah, that old router sitting in the corner, or some smart home gadget that hasn't been updated in ages. You probably all have something like that.
Guilty.
And the study shows how that common thing at home can suddenly become a corporate vulnerability. It's a real issue.
So, okay, let's bring it back. What does this all mean for, for you listening? Whether you're managing people, running a business, or just trying to keep your own stuff secure, the research seems to be screaming that companies really need to step up their cybersecurity game as remote work sticks around.
Definitely. And it's not just about the big corporate firewalls anymore. It's crucially about understanding and influencing those individual employee behaviors, their habits, with information, with their computers.
It's got to be both then, an integrated approach.
Absolutely. Which, raises another important question. How do we make this happen on a bigger scale, beyond just one company at a time?
Good policy level.
Yeah, the paper actually offers some useful suggestions for policymakers. They can use these findings to help improve cyber hygiene for remote workers across the board, maybe make it easier for people to follow company security rules even when they're at home.
So creating a safer environment for everyone, really, by tackling those weak spots we talked about.
That's the goal. Understanding where the real vulnerabilities lie, especially the human ones.
Okay, so that brings us to you, our listener. As we wrap up this deep dive, maybe just think about these findings, particularly if you're leading a team or involved in setting policy. What's maybe one fundamental change you could start thinking about something beyond just buying more software that could actually empower people towards better cyber hygiene in your organization?
Yeah, how are those human factors, those daily habits we mentioned, how are they being shaped by the culture and the resources you provide, or maybe don't provide?
Because ultimately, it feels like the security of our whole digital world kind of rests on every single one of those individual choices and the systems we build around them. Something to chew on.